Hello, everybody, on this dark and rainy day. I have a feature with me, my dog. She's back again. She just had some surgery done recently, so I need to take care of her. But anyway, let's talk about the gods. So, on today's episode, I'd like to talk about the gods, actually. Um, I wanted to bring up magic. So, this video is mainly going to be about magic. So, for all of you who are watching, if you do not know what magic is in the Norse beliefs, it's called Seiðr, and oftentimes it's used by feminine people or females. There are some instances where males have used it, but they're not. Sorry about that. But they're not seen as masculine. So for a male to do Seiðr, they're most often seen as a feminine person, just since the rituals are feminine in its own right. Now, you can believe this if you want. I personally do not think that that really matters. I do not think that Seiðr is feminine, but that's just the way that they talk about it. Seiðr is most often connected with the Vanir, since they seem to use magic more, or Seiðr, and they seem to be really the masters of it. I guess then you can say as opposed to the Aesir. And I actually have a couple of references from the Poetic Edda to read to you today. So let's just get right into it. So if anybody out there has their own Poetic Edda and they want to read along with me, I'm reading from the Seer's Prophecy, or the Voluspa, stanza 18. So this line states, "Breath they had not, spirit they had not, blood nor bearing nor flesh complexions. Breath gave Odin, spirit gave Hænir, blood gave Lodr, and fresh complexions." Now, in context, what they're talking about is when Odin and two other gods had created some of the first beings on Midgard, I believe. And so they're talking about how Odin, Hænir, and Lodr had given breath, spirit, and blood to these hollow shells to make them living beings. So this can be seen as an instance of Seiðr, or magic, creating life where there was none to begin with, creating a living being and a very complex being where there were none in the first place. Instance number 2 is Voluspa, stanza 25. Odin hurled a spear, sped it into the host. That was war still, the first in the world. The wooden rampart of the Aesir stronghold was wrecked. The Vanir, with a war spell, kept on trampling the plain. So this is very obvious as to what they're talking about. Obviously, they're talking about magic. The Vanir had used a war spell to seemingly win the battle, or at least destroy the Aesir in a siege. And as I said before, the Vanir had an affinity for magic. So this is something that's not unlikely to see from the Vanir, especially in a battle, which is why for a long time the Aesir and the Vanir had just been going back and forth in wars, and the Aesir had oftentimes gotten their butts whooped, until eventually they made a pact to where they had a mutual, I guess you can say, friendship. Back in times like this, it was not uncommon for two kingdoms to offer either hostages or a marriage betrothal between a person of each kingdom to make allyship. And so eventually this is what happened between Aesir and the Vanir. And finally, the third instance is in Loki's quarrel, or the Lokasena, stanza 24. This reads, "But you, they say, practiced Seiðr on Sam's..." Excuse me. Oh, it's spring and there's allergies in the air. I'll read it again. "But you, they say, practice Seiðr on Samzi, and you beat on the drum as the seeresses do. In the likeliness of a wizard, you journeyed over mankind, and that I thought the hallmark of a pervert. In this stanza, Loki is responding to Odin, where Odin was practically saying, uh, actually, let me just quote him. Odin said, "You know, if I gave what I shouldn't have given, victory to the faint hearted, yet 8 winters you were beneath the earth, a milk cow and a woman, and there you bore children, and that I thought the hallmark of a pervert." So the two are going back and forth, calling each other perverts, which I really think means that they're they're saying that one is more effeminate than the other, since obviously a male giving birth is feminine in itself. Um, but then again, here we go. Loki is talking about how Odin uses Seiðr, which is a feminine trait in itself. So they're both shooting at each other. And if you have not read this book, or you have the Poetic Edda but you've not gotten this far, the Lokasena is by far one of my favorite parts of this book. Loki is just being a spicy guy. He comes into Aegir's hall, where most of the gods are drinking ale and just having a good time. And Loki comes here to ruin the fun. He comes to shoot at everybody, call them out on things, call them names, and it's just a big mess until he knows he cannot say anything about Thor, since he knows Thor will back up his words. When Thor gets there, then Loki knows it's the show's over. So it's a very good read. If you have the book, it's definitely worth it to read this part of it if you've not already. And if you do not have the book and you want to learn more about Norse heathenry, this is definitely a great book to get. This is the one that I have right here. But I would also say it's worth it to get the Jackson Crawford edition if you can. Jackson Crawford is very accredited, and he has very good YouTube videos too if you want to watch those. So anyway, back to my point before. Magic, Seiðr, very interesting in the Norse beliefs. My main point that I wanted to bring up about it was that we can see Seiðr today, right? So now we know how Seiðr was looked at back in the day. It was more of a feminine thing. Even people that had been seers or something of the sort were seen as feminine if they were male. Even rune readers back in the day, they were seen as feminine. And I think now it's not that important of a thing to say that, it's a feminine thing. I really do not think that has any basis, but that's just the way that they saw it back then, as I said before. I did actually have one more instance to bring up from the book, since this actually talks about what I was just saying about seers. So this one's a little bit long, so just try and stay with me here. Again, it's back to the Voluspa seer's prophecy. We're starting at stanza 30, and we're going on for a couple of stanzas. So it begins as, "Father of hosts, choose for her rings and necklaces, treasure, wise speech, and spirits of divination. She saw widely, widely about every world. She saw Valkyries coming from far and wide, ready to ride to the gods' realm. Skolk shouldered one shield, Skogul was another, Gun, Hild, Gunduo, and Ger Skogul. Now the general's ladies are counted up, Valkyries ready to ride over the earth. I saw for Balder, for the bloody god, Odin's child, his fate in store. There stood grown higher than the plains, slender and very fair the mistletoe. From that stem which seemed so slender, there came a dangerous grief dart. Hoder started to shoot. Baldur's brother was born quickly. Odin's son started killing at 1 night old. He never washed his hands nor combed his hair until he brought Baldur's adversary to the funeral pyre. And in Fenn's halls, Frigg wept for Valhalla's woe. Do you want to know more, and what? So I think this pretty well describes a use of Seiðr, being able to see the future, as one of the uses of Seiðr. There are, as I've described, many different variants of Seiðr, like spells, or incantations, seeing the future. These are all parts of Seiðr. Mostly, I guess, supernatural properties, things that are not just normal hand work or something of the sort. But on a side note, I wanted to say, even though they bring up mistletoe, right? Since we know what mistletoe is, it's like this it's like this leaf sort of thing with berries. Usually we see it. I'll put it right here. But they also talk about how Hodr started to shoot, and they call it a dangerous grief dart. Now, I would say, let's say they did use mistletoe as a dart or an arrow, right? I'm not sure exactly how that would work unless they put the mistletoe on the dart, or like maybe they spread the mistletoe juices or something like that on the dart, or somehow it hit him. Since the story goes back to before that, where Frigg makes sure that everything in the universe swears to never be able to hurt Baldur, which is why he cannot be hurt by anything except mistletoe. But I'm not sure how the mistletoe would actually end up hurting him if it's a leaf, and especially not just hurting him, killing him. Like, uh, think about it like this: like everything swears to never hurt you, right? Except this one plush toy, and then someone slaps you in the face with a plush toy and you die. Just since the plush toy did not swear to never kill you, that means that instantly it's like your kryptonite. That's what's a little bit confusing about that. No, I just wanted to say something. Looking back, there is a possibility that Hodor made an arrow or something out of mistletoe, or put the juices on it, since it is poisonous. So there's that. And I had heard, I'll do a little bit of research about this, but I had also heard that mistletoe may have been another name for Hodor's sword, or may have been a spear or something. Hey guys, I'm here to cut back in again. I found information that there was a sword named Mistletoe, or in Old Norse, Misteltein, who was owned by Hrómundur Gripsson, and was first owned by Throin, I think it's pronounced. But there's the information for that. Let's get back to the video. Thank you guys again. Um, but that when Hodor went to fight Baldur, that it actually was not a literal mistletoe, but that's a name for the sword that he had, and that's how he killed him, since it was his sword in particular that never swore to not hurt Baldur. And I believe it had something to do with Hodor wanting the hand of Nanna, which was Baldur's wife. It seems like Snorri Sturluson, I think is his name. Snorri Sturluson, that he tried to sort of Christianize the story a little bit, it seems like. Since it seems like they're trying to paint Holder out to be like an evil, devilish being that just wanted to kill the amazing, like almost savior, the beautiful god Baldur, which was, a victim, seeming to sort of relate it to like the devil, and or maybe like the Romans or something like that, and the great amazing god of light Baldur. And not saying that he's not, amazing. He it does seem to be seen that way, but it does also seem like that he's trying to Christianize the story a bit, which actually makes it difficult for people now to really believe certain things. And not just certain things, to believe what really was believed about certain gods. It makes it more murky now, which is why reading the stories of the gods, about our gods, written by a Christian, is pretty difficult, since they may want to Christianize it. You know it's like a religion from a long time ago that has maybe like one or two things written about any gods and not really much about it, right? It's like that religion being transcribed by a Buddhist, and they need to relate it to their gods, and then they try and make it sound similar to Buddha and whoever else is in their sort of their mythology, if you want to call it that, or like their religion, right? um and so really, I'm not saying that, I'm not talking against Christianity. I'm just saying that it's difficult to get the story straight when there's not much to know about your religion in the first place. Plus, then the people writing about it have agendas or biases, especially against the gods in general. Like, you need to be very unbiased to write a story about something that has nothing to do with your religion. So anyway, off of that rant, that's not what I'm trying to talk about. My point being that these are all instances of Seiðr, and I think we can see Seiðr now too. Like, spiritual readings, people that do tarot, right? You do not need to really believe in the gods to do magic. I think since there's magic in many other religions, or even in other cultures as well that are not religious. I think magic is just a word to describe something that's already there, sort of like maths. Like, we call it that, but it does not matter if you call it maths or you call it hamdullah or something like that. It's all the same thing, really. Something that was already there, and this is just the name you give it. Which is why I do not think that magic being seen as a feminine thing really makes sense. Obviously, you know that it's sort of like an ignorant thing from the old times. So I want to talk about magic that we can use today. If you are if you yourself are a reader, I would say that that's magic in a way, since it's not like a spell, but it's a sort of magic. You're seeing the future. You're getting in touch with that magical side of life. Especially if you're a pagan or a Norse heathen, that is also Seiðr. Now, if you cast spells on people, which I do not do that or anything like that, but I know that people do have the ability to do that. And casting spells on people does not necessarily mean negative or evil, like making someone turn into something, or whatever. There's also instances of that in other sagas and all that, but that's not necessarily what spells mean. There's also spells that are good that you can cast onto other people and that you can use for yourself. So one that I like to talk about when I do readings, since I'm a rune reader too, when people talk about how they're going through a really tough time, I like to talk about, I forget where it is, I'll try and find it, but one of the spells that Odin talks about is that if you sincerely, obviously, he did not say sincerely, but this is how it always is with spirituality and magic. If you sincerely ask the gods or a specific god for help on something, and you just say, "Help me," it will happen. That is magic. And a spell, if you think about it, it's spelling, right? That's why spelling and speaking, right? Manifestation is magic. It's a spell. You're putting a spell out there. It's all magic. Since you're saying something and it's coming true, you're spelling it. You're putting out a spell that, I'm going to have $1,000,000 someday. Now, that does not mean that you're going to be a millionaire, but eventually maybe you'll have $1,000,000 in your bank account. But, a couple of things need to take money from you, like your phone line or whatever, and then now you're back down. But magic is here. We just use it in different words, like a spiritual reading, tarot. What else? Like, what did I just say? Manifestation, that's magic. You know, even obviously putting spells on other people, or even if any of you have been to spiritists or shamans that do spiritual work for you, like get negativity out of your life. You have some sort of negative spirits attached to you, and they remove that. That's also magic. Maybe someone on the other side is, you know, stuck in some sort of purgatory or something like that, and you do a uh, a ritual for that. That's magic. So these are all instances of magic being used today. We just not see them as magic, or maybe some of us do see it as magic, but these are magical parts of life, and these are things that we can do today. Here we go. I just found it. So in Sayings of the High One, stanza 146, Odin says, I know those spells which a ruler's wife does not know, nor any man's son. Help, one is called, and that will help you against lawsuits and sorrows and every sort of anxiety. Now, I think this is, you know, if we're putting it in a tier of, you know, like easy or novice or, you know, really difficult and all that, this is going to be easy. You know, anyone can do it. The only thing that you need for this is sincerity. You cannot just say like, "Oh, help me." You need to really mean it when you say it. And sometimes when you have that sincerity, it comes from a place of desperation. And as they say, change comes from desperation. So if you really, really need help, maybe, you know, you're going through a difficult time and you need the strength to get through it, I would say, whoever you believe in, or even if you're, you know, agnostic or atheist, you can still do this, right? You can just say, help me, help me. Say it to the universe, say it to yourself, ask yourself for help, whatever you want to say, but try it, since anything is better than nothing. And, you know, feeling bad and feeling depressed and all that, it's not better than at least trying. Even if you try to get better and try to feel better, if it does not happen, at least you tried, right? At least you can say, well, I did it. I did not give up, right? You're at least a warrior in some way. There's no honor in giving up, and there's no honor in just, you know, quitting and saying, well, everything's taking a toll on me, let me just, you know, quit while I'm ahead. But I think it's very interesting to see the ways that magic was seen back in the day, and the way that we can use it now, and how there's, you know, at least in the spiritual slash religious community, and by religious I usually mean you know, pagan in some way, there's evidence of magic, especially manifestation. I think that's the biggest known magic that people use nowadays, even though people oftentimes do not know exactly what manifestation means. It really just means like, you know, you need to keep working at things. You need to keep, you know, you want a better job. You do not just sit back and say, I'm going to have a better job. I'm going to have a better job. And every day you say that, and then eventually you're poof, just going to get a better job. It's not how it works. You need to still work for it, right? You need to still do what you need to do to get that better job. It's not just going to happen to you or fall into your hands. And if it does, then that's fate. But I would say still work towards your goals, and still work towards what you want in life, since most things do not just happen to you. That's not really how the world works in general. Even look, like yin and yang, the good things and the bad things that we think are good and bad, none of it happens to you, it's all for you. So, you know, use magic in your everyday life. Say, if you're going through a tough time, say help me. Ask for help. Whether it's to a person, right? Or you're praying, or you're asking yourself, you know, in thought, try it. Try it with sincerity. And you know, there is magic out there. It does exist. And I definitely believe that. Since, like I said, you do not need to believe that magic, the word, is true, but you know, you think it's spiritual, you know, it's whatever you want to think, it's God giving it to you, you want to think it's the gods giving it to you, or whatever you want to believe, it's all the same. It's magic. It is there. So, you know, and also, if you're a male watching this video and you think that you want to do magic and all that, but it's a feminine thing. I do not believe that. I do not think that that holds any weight, that it's a feminine thing. Especially, think about it. If you're a heathen, right, and you think, oh, but it's feminine, but Odin doesn't. He's the all father. He's not the all mother. He's not the all transgender. He is the all father. So, especially in times like now, none of that should matter. None of the, like, even if you do think that it's effeminate, why does that matter? We're in a more accepting time. But like I said, I do not think that it's feminine at all. Since you can be a manly man and still do readings, right? You can be a manly man and still see the future. What if it just happens to you? Well, you need to become a eunuch now, just since you see the future, you have it in your dreams and all that. That makes no sense, really. It's just ignorance. But anyway, there was my spiel. Everybody, have a great night. As you see, it's already dark. I've been talking for like maybe like 25 minutes, something like that. I always say my videos are going to be shorter. They never really are. They've only gotten longer. So I'm not going to say that this video may be a short video. We'll see. But everybody have a good night. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this at. Thank you for watching, even if it's just one person. Thank you for watching my videos. I hope you have a great time, and if you want to try out magic, please do. Only I would say I only suggest using it. Sorry, I only suggest using magic in a positive way. I would never tell you to put magic on someone in a negative way, for two reasons. Number one, that's really messed up. It's like, seriously, you're going to put magic on somebody in a bad way? That's messed up. Number two, like, even if they did something bad to you, that's messed up. But number two, what goes around comes around. So, even if someone slapped you in the face for no reason, just wish them to learn better. Or not learn better, wish them to learn and to be better in the future. Since, you put out some negative energy, that comes back to you. You wish someone to stub their toe and fall in the street, you may stub your toe and fall in the street. Or maybe your mother or your brother is going to stub their toe and fall in the street. So just think about that. Think about what goes around comes around. Only put out positive things, since positive is going to come back to you. So everybody, I hope the best for everybody out there, and I'll see you for another Thorstalk Thursday.